I just want to say it's time. Let me give the last tickets.
Oh, boy.
Just on time.
I think you did really well.
Right there.
You know, sticking to what we did last week. Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmasters Club 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And with that said, please help me welcome our Toastmaster this morning, Diane M.
The Crocodile Toothache by Shel Silverstein. The crocodile went to the dentist and sat down in the chair, and the dentist said, "Now tell me, sir, why does it hurt and where?" And the crocodile said, "I'll tell you the truth. I have a terrible ache in my tooth." And he opened his jaws so wide, and that the dentist, he climbed right inside. And the dentist laughed, "Oh, isn't this fun?" as he pulled the teeth out one by one. And the crocodile cried, "You're hurting me so! Please put down your pliers and let me go." But the dentist just laughed with a ho, 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 and he said, "I still have 12 to go." And oops, that's the wrong one, I confess. But what's one crocodile's tooth, more or less? Then suddenly the jaws went snap, and the dentist was gone, right off the map. And where he went, one could only guess, to north or south or east or west. He left no forwarding address. But what's one dentist, more or less? That is called a rhyme. And what we do is today's meetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests, what we do with rhymes is we learn language and we also get pleasure from rhymes. I wanted to do this today because I would do something like to learn and all that kind of stuff. This is a learning adventure, but it's also fun, and I just thought it was time for a lot of people to have a lot of little laughs, and you're supposed to have 25 laughs a day. But I did want to tell you some facts about rhyme. Rhyming is pleasurable, and we want to hear it from the time we're babies. Motherese is composed of rhymes. So we listen to this pattern recognition, and it helps us to decode the language. It's also an integral part of our language development. Rhymes helps, it's found all across all cultures, and it helps all of us to practice pronunciation, to develop our language, and to help with literary skills. For example, you can say, "Row, row, row your boat," and you practice your R sounds. Or "Mary had a little lamb," and you practice your L sound. Or "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." And those have rhymes that don't look alike, but they build your vocabulary. There's a whole history of why rhymes started, but a millennia ago, the pre-literate cultures, history was important to the society, and you had to hand it down from generation to generation. How did they do that? They didn't have books, so they used rhyme. For example, there is a history, Ring Around the Rosie, about the plague of London. We all know Ring Around the Rosie, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. That really was based on a history of the bubonic plague of London in 1665. And it was about the rosy red ringed rash. And the disease was also accompanied by bad smell, so people carried posies and herbs in their pockets. And then to get the smell to go away, and the ashes referred to the cremation of the bodies. So rhyme has been important in our lives in order to carry down traditions and in order to help us learn and grow. We also use it for common sense wisdom, like Little Bo Peep. That warns us of the consequences of irresponsibility. And then a long time ago, you could not have free expression when there were monarchs and things. Okay, Rich. Okay, I got you. So what they did is they put rhymes in little clever stories so that they could parody the political people, and they could tell secrets and pass secret messages along. For example, Three Blind Mice. Everybody says it to their kids. That's really a story about Queen Mary I, Bloody Mary, who was a Catholic notorious for persecuting Protestants. And there were 3 Protestant bishops who were convicted of plotting against Mary that were burned at the stake. They were also thought to have been blinded and dismembered, just as in the rhyme. So I just wanted to let you know that those are things that rhymes do, but also our brain wants to hear more of them. Now, today we're going to start with introducing our technical table, and I'd like to start with our grammarian, Paul Walsh, so that the timer and the out counter have time to use our word of the day. Paul?
Good morning, Toastmasters and guests. As the grammarian, it's my function to select the word of the day to help members build their vocabulary. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. If you don't use the word of the day, you will be charged 25 cents. The word of the day today is exasperating. It's an adjective. Definition is intensely irritating or infuriating. The grammarian was exasperating to the Toastmaster when he did not get the word of the day to her until Monday afternoon. In addition, I'll be listening for errors in grammar as well as excellent word selections. I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Now we have our timer, which apparently I've been exasperating to him today. So let's introduce Rich Massa. He's our timer for the day. Thank you.
Thank you. My function is to time the speakers, evaluators, and table topic participants to ensure they meet the timing requirements to qualify for voting. I will demonstrate the timing lights, which will be displayed as follows. With speakers, you will get a green at 5 minutes, a yellow at 6 minutes, and a red at 7 minutes, indicating that your time is going to be completed. At the end of each segment, I will report the timing results and call for members to vote. And I did not time myself, so you can tell I'm new at this.
Thank you. Rich, Stephany has a 7 to 9 minute speech, so it'll be 7 to 8 to 9.
Okay.
All right, finally, our off counter, Mike Hughes. Could you please introduce yourself?
As the off-counter, my function lists for filler words such as you know, so, okay, and other audible pauses and fillers. I'll be noting any members perform any double clutches, which means they say things twice, such as this means, this means. Finally, I will also include things which might be distracting as lip smacks. And I will present my report during the evaluation portion of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, of course, we get to the big deal of our meeting, our speeches. And today, Martin Bell will encourage us to take action with his speech from project number 3, Get to the Point, titled T. Logan Fleck and Saying Thanks.
I do have a handout real quick before it comes to this. T. Logan Fleck, saying things. If you could pass one back. Sir? By the way, did anybody else find traffic on the way in exasperating? Here. Fellow Toastmaster and honored guests, are you seizing the opportunities to thank the people that make an impact or are making an impact in your life? I recently missed one such opportunity, and hopefully by sharing it with you today, may inspire you or encourage you to reach out to some of the people in your life that are making an impact on yours. Last month, I attended a memorial service for Thomas Logan Fleck, otherwise known as T. Logan Fleck, to his friends, soccer players, and fellow soccer coaches. T. Logan Fleck was about to enter his eighth season as soccer coach at Stetson Men's University. He started his coaching career in the early 1980s, coaching right here at Central High School and Lyman High School, and has since progressed to be one of the most recognized college soccer coaches in the United States. I had the opportunity to meet T. Logan Fleck just a couple of dozen times. You might be asking yourself, well, why would you attend a memorial service for someone you only met very few times? Well, some of you may know I'm a huge soccer fan, born to Brazil, and I take that with me on the weekends. I've been officiating soccer since 1986. I've been officiating college soccer since 1995. And that gives me the opportunity to travel around the entire state, up to Jacksonville, down to Miami, here in Central Florida, over to Tampa, and officiate the best men's and women's college soccer teams. And along the way, over the years, I've met hundreds of coaches, but only one of which I've had such an impact with, and that was T. Logan Fleck. Usually the relationship between soccer referees and coaches isn't that great. You're making some calls that go for their team, you're making a lot of calls that go against their team, and they'll let you know it. And so will the fans. But T. Logan Fleck was very special. He was the only soccer coach that had the confidence or the nerve to come visit the soccer officials in the officials' locker room after the end of the game and have a frank chat about what went right and what went wrong. And this is pretty much unheard of. You wouldn't normally have a coach coming into the officials' dressing room because usually at the end of a game, especially if they've lost, it's the official's fault. They want to let you know about it. But he was all about getting better, understanding from the official's point of view, understanding what his team perhaps could have done better. And so we had some very direct and honest conversations. Conversations which I haven't had with any other soccer coaches along the way. Last year, I had one of the most meaningful experiences in my officiating career. It was a playoff game between T. Logan Fleck's team, Stetson, versus Jacksonville University in Jacksonville. With about 20 seconds to go in regulation time, and with Stetson playing for the tie, and Jacksonville University leading 1-0, I called a penalty kick for Stetson University. They made the penalty kick, tied the game with 20 seconds to go. And everyone from Stetson thought they were going to the playoffs, and everyone at Jacksonville University thought they were now out of the playoffs. And did I hear it? There were about 2,000 screaming fans, students, half-drunk fraternity brothers at the game, some of which were threatening to fight me in the parking lot after. And I've heard that dozens of times before, but I think it was the first time I actually thought I was going to get into a fight after the game. I heard some of the most vile profanities swung in my direction and my assistant officials' directions, but it's all in good fun, right? Amazingly and incredibly, T. Logan Fleck comes up to me at the end of the game, actually pulls his arm around me, around my shoulders, starts walking with me towards the crowd, sticks his finger at the entire crowd, pointing at them, and says, "Hey, you all quiet down now. Referee did an excellent job. Just sit down." That's something that I've never experienced in my life, and as a referee, I don't think I'll ever experience that for the rest of my life. whether I referee for 1 more year, 10 more years, or 100 more years. I was looking forward to saying thanks to Coach Fleck this fall. The season just started a couple of weeks ago. Looking forward to going back to Stetson University, actually in a couple of weeks. But unfortunately, diabetes took his life suddenly and prematurely just a couple of months ago. So at 54 years old, T. Logan Fleck passed away. And I missed my opportunity to thank him for making such an impact on my life. I wish I had emailed, I wish I had picked up the phone and just said, hey, what you did on that day in November at Jacksonville University changed my entire attitude about people, about the relationship between coaches and officials. And I just wish I had taken the opportunity to say thanks. That moment has now passed, and I hope, again, by sharing this experience with you all, perhaps you might make a call or send an email and say thanks to someone that's currently making an impact in your life. Thanks.
Now we'd like 1 minute on the clock, please, so that everybody can do their evaluation of Martin's speech. Okay, thank you very much. Please pass your evaluations down to Martin. Our next speaker, Erika Benfield, competent communicator, is going to show us how to evaluate and manage time and how to stay focused while keeping the score competent. Please welcome Erika Benfield as she gives us her speech, You Have to Know the Score. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's a rare project that I'm speaking from, but it's the reality of my life. You have to know the score. I am the mother of 4 kids. I am the owner of a $1 million plus business, retail. That's not counting an owner of the online retail store. I'm the president of this club. I'm the president of another club, the Hispanic Chamber Leads Group for North Orlando. I'm also a Rotarian, and I'm not sharing this with you to tell you that I'm an overachiever. I was actually practicing my speech last night, and I was told I was a dork. Playing cards with people I just met. However, this I'm going to share with you today on how I'm able to get there, and most importantly, knowing the score. I watched a movie this weekend called Get On Up. Get On Up is a movie about James Brown. And James Brown said, if you want it, you can learn it, then you build it, and you can earn it. And that really struck a chord with me because I watched the movie after I wrote my speech. In order to get to where you want to go and knowing the score, you have to set your goals. I was a Toastmaster in January and I talked about proclamations. Well, it's Q4 and those proclamations were opened out and I had to do a self-evaluation. So you definitely have to set your goals before you know the score. Some people use setting the goals on personal goals. Some people do it for money. Some people do it for achievement. Some people do it in helping others. But whatever goal you're setting, it's very important to write it down. I use my iPhone under Notes. I can do a quick search under New Year's, and there's my goals, a reminder. Then you have to stay focused and organized. How do I stay focused and organized with so many commitments? And believe me, I know I have to take a step back. However, I use a lot of, I would say, apps, tools, software, so that I don't get exasperated when I don't meet that goal. There is a software called Asana. It's free. You can use it for work or personal, but it's an iCloud-based, organized way to manage your project without email. Those of you who know me know that I hate email. I feel that email is not effective anymore. So a friend of mine who's a personal life coach by the name of Coach Jen told me recently, you know, with all the distractions and pop-ups and social media, she said, check your email either once an hour, if you get 300 to 400 like I do a day, or set certain times of the day to check your email so that you can stay focused. And that took a big weight off my shoulder because I'm able to see that pop-up or see that email, put it on a to-do list, and then later be able to go back to my email and check for what I needed to read instead of stopping what I'm doing just to read it so that I don't forget about it. So you have to stay focused and organized in order to do so much. Social media. How many of you get those alerts on your phones? In social media, I have a choice when I go to bed. I can read a book, I can watch the news, I can watch the Golf Channel, or I can check Facebook. So at that point, I will check those personal things so that I can stay connected and feel like I'm involved and know what's going on with my family and close friends. So that's a little suggestion on staying focused, is to try to leave that out throughout the day or find a time that's dedicated to do that. Whether it's a moment to, my husband calls it his prayer moments. He has an alarm on his phone that goes off, and then he could be talking or on a phone call. He's got to hang up and just meditate for just a moment. It's about 30 seconds, and it helps him just stay grounded and focused, and he's been doing that for years. Last and most important, I think, is forecasting and reforecasting. So again, we're on quarter 4. I pulled out those proclamations to see where I am. I called him out on his, and then we broke it down by weeks to know where he's going to get on his goals. And it's also a way to have a little accountability. You don't want it to be an exasperating experience when you don't hit that goal. So reforecasting means that you're going to set a shorter target or a reality goal so that you get there. And I encourage you all to pull out those proclamations if you have any. And if you don't have any, write them down and focus on them now. But in order for me to meet my goal, for example, in the business, I pull out the numbers that last week of the month and I write down, okay, this is the reality of where I am, this is what I need to do to get there, and 9 out of 10 times I meet it. And it's because you have to know the score. I hope this helps you on your journey, and maybe you can do a little reforecasting or forecasting this end of quarter. Thank you.
Okay, timer, could we please have 1 minute on the clock for evaluation of Erika? Okay, thank you, everybody. Just pass them down when we finish. Our last speaker states that as a child, she spent many sleepless nights afraid to close her eyes because of frightening tales told by thoughtless adults. Here to do the tales we tell our children, help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Stephany Bonnie Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster and guests. Why do we tell these stories? Why do we tell these tales to our children? Sometimes it's to keep history alive. Sometimes it's entertaining. Sometimes it's just to frighten. There is a perverse pleasure in frightening our young, right? We take them on roller coasters to do that, don't we? When I was a child, many things kept me up, but one of them was a story about there was a crooked man. That thing bugged me. To this day, I have an inordinate fear of bridges because of the three billy goats gruff. I get to a bridge, and I don't know what's under there, or if they can upset the cars, or what. But we traveled over them. The story I'm going to tell you now has all the elements of a PSI file. Extortion, kidnapping, violence, love, miracle, greed, stealth, and in more version, even murder. All this in a seemingly harmless fairy tale, story that we tell our kids, right? Most of the time they are just entertaining and harmless, but if you scratch beneath the surface, just like some of the poems she told us about, the rhymes, you don't know what you might find. This is a story of the Grimm's brothers, Rapunzel. Anybody remember Rapunzel? There was a couple that was childless, and they longed in vain for a child. They happened to live next door to a beautiful walled garden that belonged to a notorious witch, Dame Gothel. Now, they wanted this child, and they wanted this child, and it seemed that God had answered their prayers. Mother was expecting the baby. As with many pregnant women, she had cravings, and one of her cravings was a herb called rampion, and it grew prolifically in the witch's garden. She could look out a window and see it growing, and she just had to have it in her salad. The exasperated husband finally gave in to her wailings and climbed across the wall, stealing into the garden. He kept doing this day after day until, you know what happened. The witch caught him. "Rapscallion," she said, "how dare you abscond with my herbs? I am going to curse you." He said, "Please, please, let mercy have dominion over justice. Please don't curse me, for I'm doing this for out of love for my wife who's pregnant." And pregnant, you say? I'll have my repayment. That child's going to belong to me. You will hand it over when it's born. The husband, wretched soul, had no choice but to agree. When the days had been complete for the birth of the child, the witch magically appeared right there in the birthing chamber. She was not going to be cheated anymore. Beautiful baby girl. Beautiful sunlit golden hair. Hand her over. She took the child, named her Rapunzel, and took her into her home, and there she kept her. The child grew beautiful, and this hair grew long, golden, heavy tresses. When she was about 12 years old, she says, "I gotta make sure no one else sees this kid." She took her into the woods, and she had a strange tower there. No stairs, no door, just a window. She got her into the tower, and there she kept her, secreted away, all of her days. The child just grew and grew, more lovely, longer hair. And she sang and wept every day, melancholy songs. The witch would come every day with food, and this is how she got into the tower, how she chose to get into the tower. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your long golden hair." And Rapunzel would hang her hair, wound it on a hook out the window, and drop it down, and she would climb up as though it were a rope. This went on day by day. Such was her life. One day she was singing, and a traveler heard this beautiful voice, because as lovely as she was, she had an equally lovely singing voice. He heard it, And this was no ordinary traveler. It was the prince. He became enchanted. He longed to see the voice, the fidget behind the voice. So he began hiding and watching and waiting, hiding, waiting, and watching. And one day, he saw the witch come. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." He climbed up into the tower. He says, "That's how to get in." He says, "I'm gonna do this, but at night, because the witch comes during the day." So then the next night he came, and he said the same thing. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your long golden hair." She doesn't know any different. She climbed up. She had never even seen a man before. She startled at first, but then she looked. He was smitten. So was she. She said, "His company is much better than that of the witch. I'll let him come up here." And so she did. But one day, she made a mistake. She said to the witch, "When you come tomorrow, bring some more material and let out my dresses." She gained some weight. The witch knew she was pregnant. "You deceitful witch! How dare you do this to me? I'm gonna fix you. You'll never see him again." Grabbed her by the hair, wound it around her wrist. Grabbed a sharp pair of scissors, snip, snip. The hair was gone. Dropped it. She grabbed the girl up, flew her out of the window. You see, she had no need to climb up the hair. She had the gift of flight all along. Flew her deep into the woods, dropped her there without mercy, left her. She went back, she says, "I'll fix him." Got that hair, put it on the hook, left it inside, and when he came and said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me," she dropped the hair down. He climbed up, and boy, was he shocked. Instead of his lover, there was this hideous old witch. So she said, "Seeking your lover, huh? But guess what? You'll never see her again. Matter of fact, you'll never see anything again." Shoved him down into the thorn bush where he was blinded. The poor prince in torment and anguish and without his lover wandered around aimlessly through the woods, just wandering around, blind. Meanwhile, Rapunzel, growing heavy with child, just languished in the woods, weeping and crying and singing and singing and singing, till one day the prince heard, "That's her, that's it." He followed the voice and he came upon her. They were overjoyed. They were just ecstatic. They had found each other again. She wept tears, tears of joy that fell upon his face and healed his scarred eyes. He regained his vision. The prince took her home and they lived happily. But wait, there was one version where he went back and killed the witch. But they went home, had their baby, and lived happily ever after. Now, Rapunzel would love to sing to her baby. And this is one rhyme that she would sing to her baby. Listen to the words and see how comforting they would be to a child. "Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks on the branch, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all." Very comforting.
Okay, timer, do we have 1 moment on the clock? Please evaluate Stephany and pass your evaluations down to her. Thank you. thank you, everybody. That was very interesting because I was going to tell you about the same thing with the Rockabye Baby nursery rhyme and how scary it really is when you're having babies falling out of skies and animals getting their tails cut off and being boiled in oil. Those are kind of scary little rhymes. However, why don't we think of them? Why do we just say them? We don't, because rhymes are so pleasing to our ears that we want to hear the pattern. We want to see the pattern. We want to get the pattern. And that's most important to us. And then after we get the pattern, that's when we decide whether it's meaningful or important. So that's why some kids are not frightened of nursery rhymes. Okay, our next person that we have is our table topics master, who today is James Bishop. And he's going to be throwing out some questions to some of you who haven't said a word today. And hopefully he will stump some of you. So do your best. Thanks, James.
Thank you all. As much as odd as it is to be behind the podium, I will try to remain behind here. One of the things that I realized when we were listening today, and then last night when I answered the call to make sure I was table topics master, was that nursery rhymes and rhymes in general are there from the time we're born to the time we die. If you think about it, you start off life with Hickory Dickory Dock, then you read One Fish, Two Fish, then you may fall in love with a certain type of music. For me, that was rap, and I had to learn the history and origins of it. In our house, you learn everything about something. And then all the way to An Apple a Day Takes the Doctor Away. So what I'm going to ask you, Gus, is what was your favorite, or what is your favorite nursery rhyme just to give to a child?
Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Even as I looked at this topic the other day, I've been thinking, which one of these I can remember. But my memory was only jogged when Diane started the topics today, the Toastmaster, and gave the little speech, that I am really, really clueless about rhymes. So I've been thinking here that I would be skipped over when this table topic came around, but I did not, so I would say mini, miny, mo.
All right, and Kerri, what is your favorite type of music? And give us a rhyme or two from a song.
Go ahead.
I can't really give you a rhyme or anything for my favorite type of music because it's actually classical.
Okay.
And they're
So bum 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 bum.
Yeah. But I will answer your other
That'd be
question.
perfect.
I'm just going to tell you one of my favorites, and I only know the beginning part by heart. But it's Shel Silverstein, and it is smart. My dad gave me a $1 bill because I'm his smartest son. I traded it for 2 quarters, or for 4 quarters because traded for 2 quarters because 2 is more than 1. Anyway, he trades it all the way down to 5 pennies, and it is my favorite of all of the jokes I've seen.
One of the first books that I read as a child was the proverbial One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish by the rhyming master himself, Dr. Seuss. So, I would like Erika to tell me about her favorite Dr. Seuss book.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. With 4 kids, I've had my share of rhymes, and one that comes to mind is one that I've never figured out why it exists, but green eggs and ham. I've never figured out why he even ate green eggs and ham, but now they have kids try green eggs and ham at school, so that's one that always stays with me. Thank you, Table Topics.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to end with that there are a lot of reasons to get back into rhymes. It's not just for children. We use them for mnemonic devices, like I before E except after C, and when sounding like A as the neighbor away. We remember dates. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We have limericks that are political satire things and just for lots of laughs. We have national myths, like One If by Land, Two If by Sea, and I on the Opposite Shore Will Be with Paul Revere. We use them for protests and taunts. Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? And we use them for children's games. These are real, for real. But anyway, I want you to look on the back of my paper at some point. There's a lot of different kinds of poems just to get you rhyming, and especially for those people who are Latino. In ESL classes and things, it's very important if you want to get the language to use rhymes. Oh, so much I want to say, but no more can I parlay. The time seems to be evaporating. It really is quite exasperating. So now, as I bid you, let me please welcome our General Evaluator, Stephen Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Move things along. We are going to now have the evaluations from the prepared speeches, beginning first with the evaluation of Martin's speech. Please welcome Gus Davies.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Martin. As speech, we have this space here. It's a wonderful thing to give. So I just wanted to demo that your speech was so passionate. I love the story you told because you picked someone who meant a lot to you. You know, you love soccer, you go to Brazil, and you've told us that story here. So today, you really drew us into what you are very good at doing. And that is going out there and traveling around the States and maybe beyond, so that you can be a referee, and you know the nuances of the game. The story you told about this Logan Fleck was very dear to you. You express it. I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your voice, that it meant a lot to you. So thank you for bringing us along. And your objective was to get to the point. You really got to the point of that story to tell us about something you are passionate about. When you give a speech, we can move this away because you don't need it. You know, you don't need it. We move the tables closer here to this. So it was a little tight. But you can move it away because you are talking to the group who loves you, and they can express, we can tell you what we think about that. You did not need to be looking at your notes because you are speaking directly from your heart. So you gripped us. And your hand motions when you started was a little distracting in the beginning. You shouldn't have passed this out. In my line of, I thought we were going to have a memorial service, you know, when you passed it out. I thought it's one of those things I do at church, we're going to have a service, because in the beginning, this distracted everyone trying to look at this and find out what you're going to talk about. And only the picture and the name meant a lot. The program, you did not get to any of those. You're a good speaker. You always share what you're passionate about, and you're very good at expressing it. You take things that have meant a lot to you, and in this case, it was about soccer, and you told us about that. You told us someone who has really made a difference in your life, and you gave us some things we can remember. Remember to say thank you, and remember to make that phone call. Remember to send that email. You made that very clear that you missed out on that opportunity. So from what you did not do well, we have learned now. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to other of your speeches that you'll be giving, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Gus. Evaluating the speech of Erika Benfield, welcome Kerri Bird.
Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Erika, I really liked your speech. I liked the topic. Your speech was about time management and planning and implementation. And the goals were really to evaluate your ability to manage time management practices, as well as planning and implementing those. And I thought you did that very well. You gave us the topics of setting your goals, being focused and organized to achieve them, as well as forecasting and re-looking at your goals throughout the year before you get to the end of the year and maybe realize you didn't make them, or hopefully exceeded them, and maybe could have added new goals with the reforecasting. I feel like you always present yourself very well. You had the lectern here. I'm going with Gus with this as well. you didn't need it, and you spent a lot of your time next to it over here. And you didn't really need it. You could have it to the side to refer to your notes, but I don't know that you've ever really needed the lectern when you're spoken. And the only other thing is the first time you came around the lectern, it was slightly distracting with your hands all the way behind your back. Outside of that, once you actually started using your hands, I thought that your hand gestures worked very well for what you were trying to do in making your points. Basically, I love your presence. I think you're very comfortable out here, and I also thought that you gave us some fantastic tips to follow, and I can't wait for your presentation.
And evaluating the folk tale from Stephany Byrne, please welcome Alexandra Balda.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Stephany. Stephany, I really love your story. I'm going to mention 3 things that you taught me, what I really enjoyed the most, and probably one thing that I will change if I was you for next time. Your story was very simple. You made it simple. You made it easy to understand. I wasn't sure the group age. I mean, obviously, it's not bad at all because you make me kind of go back to my childhood. I don't know if that was on purpose or the purpose based on the objectives in the book. But obviously, I put myself, if you were a teacher and I was a child, and right there when you came out of no, it's not the podium, the lectern, thank you. You trap us immediately with that energy, and that's a very common story, the Rapunzel, but you make it to the next level. I was trapped since the opening, your approach, the outstanding ending, that kind of took me to another place as well, because we don't realize these songs that we sing to our children, including myself, I'm guilty. The message is not that nice and cute, and you make me realize that. Based on the objectives, Stephany, what I will improve next time is, even though you use some energy and some voice inflections to let us know about these characters, I almost wanted for you to make me feel afraid about the hideous witch and use your voice and use your body language. I saw them, but I couldn't touch them. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is I wanted for you to exaggerate, because if I'm my children, and you know when you tell stories to children, when you change and I mean, they get scared or they cry or they laugh with you. Is that a little piece that, especially with the hideous witch, it was exasperating. And I hate her. I want to hate her more. I like Stephany the tale that you shared with us this morning, and personally, I want to say that it took me to great memories when I was a child. Thank you.
So now move to the technical table reports. We'll begin first with our timer. Rich, how did we do keeping on time this morning?
Well, I apologize for the timer not being on time today.
Agreed, here.
Well, we're going to start off with Paul, who was at 25 seconds with his opening. I did not time myself. Mike, we were at 51 seconds. And also James Bishop was at 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Martin Bell, with his speech, was at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Erika was at 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Stephany was at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. As far as the evaluators, Gus Davis, you are at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Kerri you are at 1 minute and 31 seconds. And Alexandra, you are at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And I was very exacerbated doing this for the first time today.
Exacerbated?
Yeah, that's the word I'm using today.
I'm tracking that.
Well then, moving on to the counter report. Mike, what have you detected so far?
Well, it is exasperating. Martin, 26 ums. What happened there? What happened? Anyways, not a big deal. 2 ands, 2 tongue clicks, and 1 pause. Erika, you have 1 so, 4 ands, and 2 pauses. Stephany, you have 1 but, 1 and. Diane, 3 uhs. James, you have 2 ums. Stephen was clean. Gus, 4 you knows. Kerri, you got 1 2 ums, 1 so, 2 buts, 3 ands. Alexandra, you had 3 uhs, 2 ums, 1 and 2 double clutches. And that is my report for the day. Thank you.
And finally, our grammarian, Paul. How did we use the language this morning?
Well, those who used the word of the day were Diane, Martin, Erika, Stephany, Alexandra, Mike, and we'll give Rich half. There you go, 12.5 cents. And for language, I just grabbed a couple that I liked. I liked Gus's eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Erika, I like the reference to Get On Up. I don't remember if that was a movie or song or what. But and also Stephany with the perverse pleasure in frightening children. I like that. That's my report.
I like that. And for the general evaluation. See, we started on time and soon we're behind. We began with a rhyme and played close mind. Technicals tabled, we gave thanks and kept score. In fear we fabled, 2 topics, then 3, not 4. All in all, we learned and grew. Thank the evaluators for not berating. A theme that came out of the blue, most enjoyable, not exasperating. Evaluators, thank you for the job that you've done. You gave a lot of good feedback for the speakers to take forward and all of us to learn from.
Still rapping.
But now my time is done, so I must pass along our president. Lectern is yours.
That's amazing. I'd like to hear from our guests, starting with Danielle. Let us know what you thought of the meeting and just a share.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I enjoyed it. I enjoy listening to everybody speak, and I look forward to coming back. And the ride here was definitely exasperating.
Next, Ben.
This is my second time here. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it is definitely exasperating being a guest here. Kind of share their speeches and everything like that, but it is truly a pleasure being here, and I thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And last but not least, Nicole.
Super grateful to be here again. And I was extremely exasperated by the bus driver's tardiness.
Fantastic. Who has a schedule floating around for next week? Someone has it? Okay, I just want to point out when the schedule is being pulled, who is still interested in joining the 50-50 raffle from today? We're going to have a guest pull one of the tickets out of the cup in just a few short moments. So
How much are the
raise your
tickets,
hand.
Erika?
The tickets are $1 each. If you spend $3, you get 4. If you spend $5, you get 7.
Last call.
Last call. And while that's being done for September 9th meeting, the Toastmaster is Kerri B. Speaker 1, James Bishop. Speaker 2, Mike Hughes. Speaker 3, Alexandra Valda.
Yes.
I don't have a table topics master, so let me know for the show of hands if you're interested. I can do that if we don't have that. Gus Davies, actually I'm something else. Gus Davies is general evaluator. Evaluator 1, Stephen Morgan. Evaluator 2, Julia Kaufman. Evaluator 3, Rich Massa. On the yaw counter, Diane Manikowski Grammarian. Timer, Martin Bell. And for this week's theme, I want to thank our Toastmaster. That was brilliant and very clever of Stephen to do that. I always say with the proper planning, there's a way that we can all tie it in together, and I think Stephany did a really great job by choosing that project because it tied in beautifully with today. I'd also like to just take a brief moment and give Alexandra a round of applause for all her hard work. She makes sure that this area is set up every day, and she has taken the extra role of facilitating the 50-50 raffle, which is that some people would say just a little added stress. So now you're ticket master, sergeant at arms, and I just want to say thank you very much. Any other commentaries or questions?
I don't have a question or commentary, but I do have a request. Well, of course, money. Well, from Rich.
Thanks, Stephany.
I'm getting you back for the timer thing. Anyway. Now, on September 20th is the area humor speech and evaluation contest, and I am the contest chair. And I need volunteers desperately, and I promised that I would ask today. Mike, yes?
For what?
Remember what we talked about last week, just say yes. All yes?
Say yes.
Okay,
Just say
yes,
yes.
Mike. Anybody else who wants to, who isn't in the contest, who would like to help be a functionary at the meeting? It's at the Cork and Olive. Okay, that's $100. It's at the Cork and Olive, so please help me. I really need your help. Thank you.
So help support the local area contest. Stephen, is it twice a year that we do these?
Yes.
Twice a year. That's it. Get it out of the way. I'm sure
It's the club
it's
winners
in one of the manuals, and you have to volunteer.
Yeah.
So if you have the time, and September's a good time to do it, get on up and volunteer.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, with that, let's have our guests pull one of the tickets. If we're ready, everyone grab your tickets, and you can decide which guest to have them draw.
I'm feeling lucky.
I don't know if they can get their whole hand in there. Is that going to work?
Ben's got a small hand.
Perfect.
My hand's very gentle.
She's shaking them pretty good.
We have $23,
$23.
meaning the winner gets, we'll
That's
start
much.
on even $11. Is that fair enough?
$11.50.
$11.50.
Okay. Okay, to make this fair here. I'm going
All right, and they have to close their eyes. There we go. So it's Nicole, right?
Yes.
All right, Nicole.
Just take one.
I got it. 0306.
306 last
Oh,
round.